So, all grace and peace and all blessings be to the Most High God. The Most High God always comes first when I have to start talking about anything. So, I want to put him first. I'm very grateful to be alive. Of course, my birthday came and left. Valentine's Day this year, I turned 50. My health is up and down in terms of my stomach, but for the most part, I feel happy to be alive and well in the world today. Before I go to work, I decided I was going to do this stream with you guys. Restore the Snyderverse is primarily what I'm going to be talking about, but there will be also a number of different clips and snippets that pertain particularly to what is happening in Palestine and the attitude of people and so on. So we will be still delving into Free Palestine. Okay. Let me get right into it. Aki, shout out to Aki, who is on Twitter. He has a Twitter handle that is official, and he makes money off of what he does, and he gets a lot of likes and views, which is very good for him, you know. But I want to stress on what he highlighted here, and I want to put it in the context of what's happening today in the world today. Okay. So this is an actual quote from the actual movie and in front of you. And what you're seeing is Senator Finch's statement. This is from Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Hell of a movie. Hell of a movie. It's hell of a movie. Chris Terrio overdid himself. Zack Snyder with the storyboarding and so on. Just fantastic movie. Okay. I have to agree with a lot of people that BVS is one of the best comic book movies of all time. Of all time. Of all time. You know. I don't know what could rival it right now, but it's a hell of a movie, and we're going to go into some aspects of it that is just what it is, and we'll also get, you know, I'm basically covering stuff that's on Twitter. Okay, so first of all, I just want to make a disclaimer that none of this material is mine. I'm not trying to breach copyright to make any money. I am doing this particularly because I want to educate people. That's it. I'm not making any money off of this. I don't have any sponsors today. I'm not trying to highlight sponsors. I'm not trying to get donations. None of that. Okay. I will be on YouTube asking for donations and being sponsored at certain points in time. But I will try to make sure that content is solely mine so that when that happens, I won't get in breach of copyright. But at this point in time, this is a disclaimer. None of this material here is, some of it is mine, but most of it is not. And I'm not trying to do this for profit. This is just for educational purposes. Okay, now that's out of the way, let's get it going. Aki says, I'm not saying he shouldn't act. This is Senator Finch. I'm saying he shouldn't act unilaterally. And then the interviewer, who used to be on CBS, he says, what are we talking about here then? Must there be a Superman? And she says, there is. Now, I want to just go into that, unpack that, because that's some really great dialogue right there. Senator Finch is saying, she's not saying that Superman shouldn't seek to do good in the world. She's just saying you need to notify people of what you're about to do. You can't just be moving solo and just doing things willy-nilly all around the world. You know, you may think you're doing something good, but then it could turn out to be something, you know, evil. So consult us. Don't act unilaterally. I'll act in a multilateral way. Have accountability and that kind of thing. So that's what she was speaking about. And basically the world we live in today, in terms of governments and so on, is becoming more and more a multilateral world. You know, there was a time just after the Cold War where the United States was seen as the only superpower in the world. Okay. But that time is very quickly approaching where the United States will not be the lone, strong superpower in the world. In fact, we're heading towards a multipolar world. And we're heading towards a world where there's going to be a number of different people who have attributes which benefit the world and have power in certain areas, but no one nation in the world is going to be solely the powerhouse in the world, like how the United States once benefited, and of course other civilizations and regimes before that. So that's the way how the world is moving at this present point in time. And there's just sufficient division in power such that one powerhouse can check another powerhouse. So it can't be a one world order yet, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so I wanted to go into that and unpack that even a little bit more on what is being said here. Now, very interestingly, I forgot what the name of the gentleman is, who was an actual journalist. I think he retired or whatever, was removed from CBS for some sexual misconduct or whatever. But he asked a very great question. So she said, I'm not saying he shouldn't act. I'm saying he shouldn't act unilaterally. So he said, what are we talking about here then? Must there be a Superman? That is to say, you're saying, is Superman absolutely necessary for the world today? Is he absolutely necessary? Or is he just something that we could want to have around? We could want him to have around because he's thinking all or nothing, meaning she just said that he should act. There's nothing wrong with him acting. She's just saying you need to keep us in the loop of what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Don't act unilaterally, okay? And the interviewer who's interviewing her, he says, well, is he absolutely necessary then? Because you're saying it's okay for him to act once he's acting multilaterally. That is, he's contacting the relevant people who would be involved in this so that everybody knows what's going on, everybody's in the loop. But is he really necessary? Can the world go on without Superman? That's what he's asking. And she's saying there already is a Superman, so it doesn't really matter. That question is somewhat irrelevant in the sense that there's one, so we should make use of the Superman that's here. So I thought this was a very interesting dialogue in the sense of that, and this is such a mature conversation, you know, that now you have to understand two things, right? Moviegoers today have been spoiled by Marvel. Marvel, the MCU has dumbed down superheroes. I remember when superheroes were action flicks. I remember when superheroes were badass. I remember when superheroes, there was some introspection when you go and watch the superhero movie, a commentary on something. The director's not just making the movie because he wants to make a movie and make some money. He's making a movie that's saying something, and not just the bare minimum of something, but with meat on the bones. Take, for instance, Unbreakable. Unbreakable was a superhero movie, and it was a discussion on superhero comics and a discussion on our abilities as human beings. And are these superhero comics actually a reflection of ourselves? And is it possible that there are actual people in reality who exhibit these things? That's what gave the inspiration to these comics. Okay. So to me, Unbreakable, Split, and Glass is a commentary on us, not on the superheroes, but on us and our capabilities and our belief, right? And whether we believe that actually we exist, but people are hiding that information from us, that there's more to ourselves than we've been taught and we've been indoctrinated to believe in our Western society. So I think that's what the Eastern world and the Eastern society has long since divorced themselves from that prospect. They have always believed there's a spiritual aspect of ourselves, and what people call witchcraft or magic. The people of the East have been implementing that a long time ago. Okay, so it's the West with their atheism and with their science, their so-called science and stuff that came from the East anyway, and their mathematics and stuff, which again came from the East, where they kind of divorce and say no, there's no such thing as spiritual levels of things and stuff, right? So anyway, my point here is that Zack Snyder comes on the scene now. Okay, so first we had Unbreakable. Now Zack comes with Man of Steel. Man of Steel is interesting in that Man of Steel tries to explain the spiritual in terms of metaphysics, in terms of the sci-fi, science fiction. Why that's interesting, and it's going to be very interesting to all of us, is because as the story evolves, you're able to relate it to real events, to real things that are happening. And Zach makes a case where I don't know if he's aware of this or not, but he makes a case for a lot of stuff that we don't talk about when it comes to the spiritual aspects. And you have to understand, to take a popular thing such as superheroes and to bring a certain spiritual aspect to it, which is why I'm even interested in his films to start with, is another level. You know, like Unbreakable for me was, okay, we could be like these people that we read about, right? Which we call comic books and we call superheroes the modern mythos, right? So there's always truth to myth, right? Well, Zack Snyder took that to the next level, and he was saying there's dimensions of ourselves, not just faith, but there's dimensions to ourselves that we think are normal, but they're actually spiritual. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. Now, you could go one way or you could go the other. Okay? As a researcher or as a scientist, you could go one way or the other. You could just say, no, this is, and try to explain it by physical phenomena, and that's it. All right? And you're going to argue down that path. Or your research will either enhance the spiritual, and you will believe that there's a God and there's a spiritual aspect to things, and life is spiritual, and there's more to it than just the basic stuff that you're trying to delve into. Or you could go the other extreme, okay? Now, what's so cool about Zach? I truly believe that his Christian Scientist roots influence why he graphically implements. Because Christian Scientists, they believe in healing through prayer, you know. So that's a spiritual aspect of things. And I believe his upbringing, whether he holds to it now or not, I do believe his upbringing has something to do with why he's able to capture what I consider spiritual things and sort of manifest them in a physical form that captivates people. And I don't know if he's aware of it. I believe he is, but I believe that that is something that is different to other people of different walks. For example, and I see somebody with Wicca, like for instance, if you're doing the Harry Potter movies, or if you're watching Joss Whedon do the Justice League, the Wicca is purposeless. Let me say that again. The Wicca is purposeless. And what do I mean by that? Zack Snyder is the only director I know of at present, okay, who can capture virtue, values, and literally embody them in characters. Okay, let me see if you can understand what I'm saying, and I can try and make it as simple as possible so you guys can understand what I'm saying. Before Zack Snyder, no one considered Superman's crest on his chest as hope, a symbol of a virtue, of an idea. Okay? No one had emphasized that until Man of Steel. No one. It was sort of in the background. Superman, yes. When we see Superman, we get hopeful, we get this, we get that. But no one articulated that as powerfully as Zack Snyder did in Man of Steel. Why this is very important for people to understand, because a lot of you don't understand what Zack does. And I'm trying to tell you, Zack does not care about the idol. He cares about the idea. He does not care about the form. He cares about the actual quality. And this is the thing that hooked me into Zack Snyder and into his movies, is particularly not so much Rebel Moon, not so much Army of the Dead, even though those are really interesting intellectual things, but particularly with the superhero genre, knowing that superheroes came from had Greek influences, Roman influences, because Super, if you want to go deeper, African influences, Asian influences, etc. Okay, superheroes are really an amalgam of different things, and the genre moved forward, and then it started to re-engineer that amalgam again. Okay, so we have, like, for instance, the Atom, who is now, Asian, and so on and so on, and the cultural influences flow over into that. But I'm just saying that Zack Snyder is able to capture things that are invisible and make them invisible. So, for example, by using symbology, for example, where they formed this whole Kryptonian culture and this whole Kryptonian language, and therefore the symbols, like glyphs, like hieroglyphics, like from the Egyptian culture, right? Egyptian culture, again, hieroglyphics and glyphs and stuff like that, right? So Superman has a glyph on his chest. We're going back. And remember, this is a very important point, and this is the thing I love about Zack, because Zack is really that kind of guy. Zack Snyder is dyslexic, like my ex. So what's so cool about him is he's going to see things that we are not seeing. That's why he was able to give this powerful perspective. Don't get me wrong, David Ayer is the one that wrote the script and put it together, but Zack captured it on film in such a unique way and such a powerful, pronounced way that the attribute of hope is being embodied in this person, and we're going through this journey of hope with this person, which leads to the death of this person, but yet is passed on to another person who is able to revive that person who was dead, and to not only revive that person who was dead, but to multiply. You have to understand, unless a seed goes to earth and dies, you cannot have trees, forest, fruit in multiple numbers. This is a spiritual concept. This is not limited to the Bible or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or, some other holy book. This is a principle. This is a spiritual principle he was able to articulate on the screen in such a powerful way. The other thing that I thought was really beautiful, which everyone was criticizing at the time when Zack allowed Superman to die in BVS, was the fact that we have to understand hope involves sacrifice. And it involves sometimes the ultimate sacrifice. Sometimes it involves sacrifice where people die in their thousands. Take, for instance, again, Israel versus Palestine, the Gaza incident, where 60,000 people, at least on paper, it's much more than that now, but 60,000 people died in order for Gaza to get some sort of liberation, to move further, for the world to become aware of what Israel's been doing in that region, to the people of that region, the innocent people of that region, the people who did not do Israel anything. I want you to understand it's a struggle. Hope is a struggle. Let me say it again, because these are powerful concepts, people. And when you hear, actually, you know what? I'm going to stop right here. Pause for a second. I'm going to let Zack articulate what he's saying. So I'm going to scroll right here. Okay. John Baker, shout out to John Baker on Twitter. Shout out to Danger, Hayden Barton on Twitter. You guys have done a great job digging this stuff up. And John just pulled it back up from Danger, who did it last year. I want you to hear Zack Snyder when he's being interviewed by, what's the guy's name? Oh, my goodness. You guys know who I'm talking about. And listen to him talk about what he thinks about the modern mystics, which is superheroes, and how they explain, and of course this is pop culture and everything, how they kind of address certain questions that we have in the modern age. So here we go. Deep dive. Here we go. It's only a minute long.
We make myth, modern myth. Movies are modern myth. Superhero movies are modern myth. Like, is it not the same when you say...
Hold up a second.
Like, we have
Hold up a second. I might play this a number of times just because I think this is a very important point he's making. And Zack, I remember Ben Affleck saying Zack is such an incredibly intelligent guy. Zack... I don't want to worship Zack. I'm not a worshiper of men. I don't fear men like that. But it cannot be understated, and I hate to have to do this, but I have to. It cannot be understated how good how much insight this guy has. Okay, it's just what it is. I'm from a totally different part of the world. I totally vibe with what he's saying, and the only reason Zack Snyder could be able to articulate these things is because he's gone through some shit. being dyslexic. And a lot of people don't understand. I'm telling people, you cannot empathize and you cannot join with humanity if you do not partake of their sorrows, partake of their travail. You cannot articulate this stuff on a screen just like that. And you can say how gifted Jack is and all of that, but I'm telling you, man, this, and Chris Terrio too. Both of these guys have gone through some shit. They didn't just, they can't just, you can't just, and there's a reason Zach, so this guy is always full of energy and full bubbly because he's been through some shit and he's been able to persevere past it. And now he's able to articulate these things and put these things on the screen. And to these things, these movies and stuff are like his babies, you know how it is. And this is what he does. And this is what his gift to the world is. And so he really is passionate about it, you know? Anyways, having said all of that, let me just get Zach to articulate. But I just want to scroll this back a second. You know, I have so much to say, guys. You know, you will be surprised how much stuff I have to say. I don't have. It might take me 20 hours to say what I really want to say, but I try to keep it. I try to keep it short. Okay, I really try to keep it short because I could go on and on and on about the content of these movies, and not just the movies, but the content of our lives and how this applies to our lives and how we even when you feel impotent, that's okay. That's a part of the human condition. That's a part of the human emotion. And it's nothing wrong with that. And I'm speaking to somebody today who they had to take that step out and they still haven't done it yet. And it's a process. So don't worry. It's a process. You're going to get there. Okay? You're going to get there. Okay. So anyway, I got so much I got to say. Let's just let Zach say what he has to say because I think this is all right. You ready? Here we go.
We make myth, modern myth. Movies are modern myth. Superhero movies are modern myth. Like, is it not the same when you say, like, we have Superman, right, and Batman or whatever? Are they not the mythic answer to a lot of modern questions about, like, how we should live? You know, like, you say Superman, is he not, and like, an invention, a 20th century invention that says to us, like, all the fucking shit that we run up against, whether it be war or like class struggle, or whether it be, relationships between different countries, does Superman not appear in answer to us primitive brains trying to figure out where we are? Like, you make a guy like Superman so he can answer some of those questions. He can represent a point of view that is not helpless in the face of the insanity that is, like, the problems of the 20th century. And I think, and Batman in the same way, he's an answer to, like, the urban jungle needs a myth, just like the ancient jungle needed a myth, or the ancient, those all, like, in those days we'd say, like, why is the volcano erupting, right? But now we say, because we didn't know, we're just like, I guess it's the gods are mad, Right. But now we have, now the problem is, like, why do I feel helpless in the face of technology or whatever? Right. So we need an answer. We need an additional answer. And I think that's what I've always, and I feel like genre has allowed me to make those comments, like, we make myth, modern myth. Movies are.
So you notice that he's not, and this is the thing a lot of people don't get. This man, he got a point to what he's saying. He's not just shooting the air, okay? He's not just shooting the air. So what I wanted you guys to do, you guys always talk about, how beautiful these movies are, and that's cool. They're beautiful, right? Fine. I want you to actually tap into yourself, because when you watch BVS, okay, or you watch Man of Steel, or you watch Zack Snyder Justice League, or you watch Wonder Woman, or you watch Joker, or you watch Constantine, okay, or you even watch the Batman, even though the Batman to me hasn't done anything, or you watch The Dark Knight. Go watch The Dark Knight again, and ask yourself a couple questions. What questions do I have? No, don't talk. We're not talking about the character. We're looking inward now. What questions do I have burning within me that the director of this movie is trying to suggest that there is this may be a possible answer to. Let me show you what I mean. So, for example, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight, there's a statement in The Dark Knight that says, you may start off the good guy, but you're not going to remain the good guy. You're going to end up at some point, somebody's going to call you the bad guy. Either you evolve into a bad guy or people are going to condemn you and call you the bad guy. They get tired of you and then they say, oh, you're not. Everybody starts off burning and hot. Oh, this guy's the best thing ever. But he doesn't stay the best thing ever, right? Usually, somewhere down the road, somebody's trashing him, and somewhere down the road, somebody's trying to get him, and eventually they either get him in prison or whatever, right? If you live long enough, you see the good guy become the bad guy, something like that. That's the message in that movie. Now, you have to ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question. Well, if that's supposedly a truth, I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't, but we've seen it a lot. Then how should I apply myself internally? How should I apply myself if somewhere down the line I'm looked at as the bad guy? Now, some of us have begun our lives as the bad guy, right? We're the black sheep, we're the scapegoat. People keep on telling us all kinds of negative things. So for some of us who have always been the bad guy or seem to be in the bad guy role, it's not a big deal. Stuff flows off of us like water. But for the people who look for that feedback, I want you to understand where I'm coming from. The people who look for that feedback, when that feedback turns negative, what do? We look at Twitter today. People start off hot and sweaty, praising this person. And then before a couple of weeks or a couple of months go by, that person suddenly is the greatest evil that the world has ever seen. We do it all the time to each other, right? It's a truth. But the question is, how do you react to that truth? Do you make that truth your truth? Or do you speak to yourself and believe in doing the right thing? Let's look at BVS. Look how the same Superman from Man of Steel went into BVS, and look at what the public, I'm not talking about the people in the movie, I'm talking about the people at large who watched the movie, how they turned face on Superman, right? They said he was emo Superman, they said all kinds of things about Superman. But when you look at what Superman did in the movie, Superman saved the day. He lost his life saving the day, trying to save everybody. Now, my question to you, and you watch the people in the movie, they had the same attitude as some of the people out here. Most of the people, they applauded Superman. They really thought Superman had a great sacrifice for his life, all that kind of thing. But there are people who hate Superman. They think he's emo Superman. They think that was the worst version of Superman. That's the worst Superman ever. And it has nothing necessarily to do with them reasoning it out in a logical manner. They're just emotional about it, right? Because Superman died in that movie. He had to go through some extremely terrible things. At a certain point in time, he lost hope. At a certain point in time, he was quite distraught. We saw Superman in the most uncomfortable position that Superman had ever been in, right? In that movie, okay? But having said that, the question is, when you look at that movie, regardless of how people feel about it outside of the movie, or the people who felt about it inside of the movie, the actual characters in the movie, the actual people in the movie, which was a character in and of itself, the media also was a character in and of itself. The question remains, did Superman depend on them for the answer? Now, so we are building off of The Dark Knight. Okay, The Dark Knight said, if you live long enough, you're going to see the good guy become the bad guy, right? Okay, we're seeing that in BVS, right? We're seeing Superman, who was a good guy for saving Metropolis, turn the bad guy, right? The question is, how did Superman deal with that? How did he overcome that? This is where Zach takes it to the next level. This is where Chris Terrio takes it to the next level. And what is the answer that they propose to someone being berated in society and being bashed in society? What is that person? Should that person continue to do what they're doing because it's the right thing? Should they continue doing what they're doing, even though the results are causing something worse? And the repercussions that the person didn't anticipate? And the answer to that is in BVS, where Superman goes up into the mountain and he speaks with his father, or he's speaking to himself while ever turning it over. And we get the answer. And this is what modern mythos does. Modern mythos. So that's why I say, if you're going into the cinema, if you want to be introspective, if you want to be a better person, right? Then you're going to ask questions as you're watching a movie. When a story is telling you, maybe you don't do it in the first sitting of a movie because you don't know where the movie is going. But once you know where a movie is going, from there on now, you can start asking yourself questions and being reflective. Any individual who wants to improve themselves, whether or not they're improving or not, but they have the desire to improve themselves, they're going to go inward. You're going to be introspective, and retrospective at the same time. And you're going to look at within yourself, and you're going to ask some really serious questions of yourself. And what the serious question of ourselves is this question: if people are berating you, you're getting a lot of backlash, ramifications. People are trying to get rid of you from a job, get rid of you from a workplace, but you're doing the right thing. You're getting shadow banned on social media. You're getting people are coming and leaving nasty comments after you finish sharing something that you thought was virtual gold with them. People are taunting you. They're bullying you. How do you keep on going? And then on top of that, the good that you thought you were doing, it's enabling some of the darkest, wickedest, evilest people, and they're using your information as fuel to carry out their horrible agendas. So you feel like, why did I even let this stuff out? Why didn't I even speak about this stuff? And should I continue doing this? Is this worth it? Should I give up? The answer to that question is this. Superman, in talking within himself to his father, he finds out that it's worth it because the people who believe in you, the people who believe that all things will work out good for you, that you have a beacon of light, those are the people that count. Those are the voices you need to listen to, because they have your best interests at heart, and they are good people. They're people who are looking for the greater good. In other words, Zack Snyder redefined hope in a seemingly hopeless situation. It seemed pointless for Superman to go to that hearing if he couldn't even stop the bombing from happening. It seemed pointless for Superman to listen to the stuff on the media, or the negative stuff about him, when people are growing animosity towards him. And he's wondering how he can effectively do good, because as we know in Man of Steel, Superman, luckily for him, separated himself from Clark Kent. If he was just Clark Kent out there, oh man, they would have eaten him alive and everybody around him. But thank God he was Superman, so he could hide as Clark Kent and watch and observe, right? And the point I'm making is they were roasting Superman alive. The media, everybody was on him. He's a hot topic and he was controversial. So, people like negative stuff. So that's spreading like wildfire. And then this explosion happens, this bombing happens. Batman wants to kill him. And he doesn't see what his mandate was. His mandate was to go there, inspire humanity, make the better people. But it seems they're getting worse. It seems as if he's the one behind all these negative things happening. And even if he's not the one behind it, because he did this good, it looks like more evil's happening, And that's a similar scenario Batman's in, but he decides to react differently. Superman realizes it's the people closest to you, the people who care about you, the people who support you. Those are the people you need to listen to. You don't need to listen to everybody. You need to have an ear to everybody. But sometimes people are just emptying their vitriol and hate, and they're just draining it out on you. You don't need all that. You just need to be around the people who will help you with your vision, who will help you with your mission. And we saw Lois Lane was the one, because she was touching the S on his chest and she was saying, this means something. And so he realized that, and that's why he said, you are my world. That's a very powerful, heavy statement. And I'll just unpack it a little bit, if you guys allow me. When we say somebody is our world, what we're saying is their opinion matters. What they say to us matter. We listen to them. That's what we mean by you are my world. It doesn't mean that I depend on you to live, but you are kind of like the mouthpiece of the world to me for what I am endeavoring to do to help the world. Right? So this is another shade of meaning of you are my world, or she's my world, or he's my world. Because this is somebody who their opinion matters to me. It's not just I live for this person, therefore you are my world. That's cool. That's cool too. But it's also your opinion matters to me because I know you are seeking my best interest. Okay? So there's all these things that sometimes, it's loaded in these movies. These movies are loaded. This is not just the usual Marvel superhero movie that has this, this. The moral of the story is, and that's it. It's clean cut, shaven guy, perfect life. Yeah, duck the I, cross the T. Yeah, perfect. Let's move on to the next one, right? It's not that kind of movie, which is forgettable, which means you enjoyed maybe certain moments. I remember Civil War, they were talking about, the team up in the airport, and that was the highlight of the movie. It was some action scene. The highlight of BVS is not an action scene. For me, it's Lex Luthor's speech to Superman. It's Batman's inspirational speech at the end of the movie. It's actually Superman, which is it's very interesting. But when he turns to Lewis, he says, you are my world, right? This is my world. You are my world. It's very powerful lines. Extremely powerful lines. Basically, Superman's claiming ownership for the world. I'm a protector of this world. I have to protect this world. This is my territory. No funny looking monster's gonna roll up in here in my house. You know what I'm saying? This is my house. You know what I'm saying? It kind of like a, it's kind of ballsy. It's kind of like a male thing, kind of testosterone. You can't roll up in my house and be wreaking havoc. Oh, hell, this is my world. That's what he said, And then he says to Lewis, you are my world. You are everything to me. You are what matters to me. And we saw it. When he was drowning, she pulled him out of the pool. He had to end up, she pulled him out of the pool. So she really believed in him. She didn't want him to die. She knew he was going to die when he took off. But you could tell she was like, no, don't go. She knew, right? But the thing about it is, the people that matter most to you, who are they? Do you realize that they matter most to you? Sometimes the people who really care about you and your best interest, you don't realize they are the people that really matter. Superman was able to realize the people who really mattered to him. His mother, Lois Lane, And that's a very important point for all of us. Don't overlook today. Don't overlook the people who see your vision and want to help you along the way with the vision you've been put on this earth to do. Okay? And thankfully for Superman, he had quite a few people who wanted to help him with his vision. And Batman also got on board eventually as well. You had Pete Ross. Even though he didn't know the full story, Pete Ross was a guy that he started chiding Superman at first, but later on, he was trying to help him get up. He was trying to help him in the stores, get jobs, stuff like that. You look at Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent, they looked out for him, you also had Lois Lane. And of course, now we have Batman, we have the Justice League, and we have Wonder Woman who would look out for him. So I'm just saying that as you move along in life, and again, that's a life lesson. Sometimes you begin in a hostile environment, a new workplace, a new area you've settled in. For children, for young people, it might be a new place you have to go to, another country, and you're a stranger there. Don't expect to have friends all of a sudden. No matter how fun you are, how many jokes you tell, Real friends, they're not many in this world, and they prove to be real friends by how they act and how they treat you, regardless of whether you're up or down. They really do sincerely look out for your best interests. And these are people you don't let go. But the point I'm making is, regardless of the environment you come through or are in, remember this, and this is the important thing, that you're going to get more and more over time. You're going to meet more like-minded people like yourself, people who are either are going in the direction of your vision or are people who are interested in supporting your vision and pushing you forward. And so Superman was blessed to have a number of individuals who could do so in his life, but they're not the majority of people. The majority of people are just bandwagoners. The majority of people, they like to see people perform and do well, but they're not going to be there for you when you're down, when you're injured, when you're in your dark place. So I thought that this was beautiful, when it comes to BVS and unpacking something that Nolan started off with, in The Dark Knight, and providing an answer to it in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. And like I said before, I believe that Zach really has the uncanny nature of humanizing, even if you're an alien, humanizing attributes and qualities. And I think that's what makes the movies with him, for me, so rewarding. Okay, this here comes along those lines. So I'm going to deal with a Free Palestine thing here. Ryan Rosbiani, he's the guy that shared this information here. And I'm going to talk to you about a little 11-year-old kid called Zakaria. And Zakaria, he has spent the last year volunteering at Gaza's Al-Aqsa Hospital, helping patients. Here it is. I want you guys to see how beautiful his attributes are. And again, hope, right? This is like a Superman right here. This kid is like a Superman. Here we go.
منك أقل شيء أنا شفت موت 5000 أقل شيء موت في عيني كمان.
Zakaria is 11. He's living on his own at the last permanent hospital in central Gaza.
صرت متطوعة لازم أنقل صداقة وشهداء وأغطان نبقى نساعد الناس.
تعامل لا أنت تتعامل معاه زيك زيه أنت سنك في سنه. طب أنت يا عمو صغير لا إذا أنت بتقول له عمو مع عمو بزعل منك.
أنا بساعد أهلي من قلبي. جابتني أي واحد برزقني مليون 50 شيكل بشتري في حياة أهلي.
فعليا هو يعني شاف شغلات فظيعة. ولد يعني قلب 180 درجة يعني لا على كبر. يعني الولد بعد هيك لما يجي يتعامل مع الأطفال مش هتظبط معاه الدنيا.
The ceasefire has been announced. For Zakaria, there is new hope, but the future's uncertain.
خير إن شاء الله عشان نروع بيوتنا مدمرين نقعد في خيام أقل.
Okay, so I really wanted to share that with you guys. So it's a Palestinian voice. It's Zakaria. God be with him. I hope that he stays safe. There's so many beautiful people in this world, and this kid is just the epitome of hopefulness, the epitome of helping others. Exactly what you think of in a superhero, in Superman, is literally what this kid is embodying and living at the age of 11. His innocence is gone. He's not really a child. He's more like a man. He's taking care of his family, things that adults are supposed to be doing. He's taking care of his mother, his brothers, his sisters, his family. And he just wants to help. He just wants to help. And there's a spirit of people. There's people in this world. A lot of you are like this. You like to help other people. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It almost brings me to tears right now as I say that, because I can. It's the quality. It's the quality. And that's the thing that Zach was able to capture that. So now we can look at and we can see who's Superman and who's not, right? Who's hopeful and who's not. And just because you're hopeful doesn't mean you haven't gone through trauma. Just because you're hopeful doesn't mean that you're happy all the time. In fact, most of the time you're not happy. Most of the time you're miserable, but you have a hope. You see beyond your situation and you push forward because you see beyond your situation. There are a lot of hopeful people in Gaza. There were a lot of hopeful Palestinians who died. Hope is not based on happiness. Hope looks beyond your suffering. It looks beyond where you are now to what you would like to see that's good. You aspire to something that's good. And that's the beautiful thing about Batman v Superman. If the movie ever ended there and Superman never rose from the dead, it was a beautiful movie. Was it a painful movie to watch? Especially if you're a Superman fan? Absolutely. Was it one of those movies that I watch every single time and I put it on loop? Nope. It's a heavy material. It reminds me of the harsh times I've gone through myself. Some moments in that movie make me break down and cry. So I'm not saying it's easily digestible. I can understand why some people think it's the worst superhero movie of all time, because it's not exactly an easy ride to go through. But what it says is priceless. It's priceless. I want to share with you one more thing. And then I'm going to call it a day with this. I could go on and on and on. I want to share with you this young lady. I'm going to share with you this young lady. She's being ostracized with a plethora of lies. She's going to speak about it. She is an American Jew who in real time is being ostracized. For those of you who are Christians, those of you who are Muslims, those of you who are Jews, those of you who are Buddhists, whatever faith you are, please pray for this young lady. I really would like to see her do great things. Again, I want you to understand that's the spirit of Superman. What I'm asking you guys to do is be like Superman and help. Okay? So here we go. We're implementing things. Okay? You see a human being, we hear their problems. It's not just to hear their problems, it's to seek to support them in some way, even if it's send a prayer, say a positive word, maybe just be quiet and be an ear to them. That's what it's all about. All right, let's get into it.
About the situation. Now, this is a terrible video to have to make. I didn't want to make it. I put it off for over a month. I told myself I wasn't going to, but at this point, every single boundary that I could possibly have has been crossed to such an extreme that I feel I have to say something, because this is a community that I advocated for people to join, and now I could not, in good faith, continue to do so. It's become so incredibly toxic and disgusting. I have to talk about what happened, at least. I just have to for my own sake. And I do want to put a disclaimer. This is my views on an online community. This is not my views on Zionism. I am still a Zionist. I do believe in Israel's right to exist and to defend itself. I still think Hamas is an evil, horrific terrorist organization. I do not think the Palestinians are evil or horrific or that they need to be destroyed, however. So now that we got that out of the way, this is going to be a bit of a longer video. Feel free to watch it at 2 times speed, but let's get on with it.
Okay, so I just wanted to say right now, if you don't realize, you might have picked up, all right, that she's agitated. You might pick up that she's resolute in what she's about to do. You may also have picked up that she is somewhat fearful as well, and that she's in the middle of something. So it's not like she's actually going through something as we speak. Now, I want you to understand something. You're going to watch this video and you're going to see human nature on display. I don't care that she's a Zion. I don't care what she is. I want you to see the human nature. I don't want you to just watch this video and have some opinion about this person. I want you to empathize, therefore go through the emotional journey that she's going through right now. Put yourself in her position, okay? because a lot of times we don't show empathy to people. We're disconnected from them, and it's because we're not empathetic. We're not sympathetic, and we're not empathetic. Sympathetic is different. Sympathizing means, oh yes, I harmonize with this person. Not only do I see how they feel, and I can feel how they feel, but also I feel for them, and I want to help them in their journey, and I want to support them. That's different. Sympathy is different to empathy. Empathy says, oh, I get where you're coming from. I feel your pain in that respect, but I'm not necessarily going to help you or do anything. I just understand you. Okay. Empathy and sympathy are two different things. I want you to understand that. Okay. Let's go. I know I'm kind of very verbose, and I know this video is going to go past an hour if it hasn't already. But I think these things are important, so I'm going to share them anyway.
So, a few months ago, I decided to make a video because I was upset with something Israel had done. They wouldn't allow a Christian IDF soldier who lost his life to have a cross placed on his grave, and I thought that was wrong. Well, this other TikToker by the name of Daniela Amar got very upset about this. She decided she was going to spam my phone at 2 a.m. and then make a video basically lying about me, saying I don't know what I'm talking about, lying about the situation. Now, even though I debunked her, she still decided to lose her mind, and people still chose to take her side. Fine, whatever, that's their own decision. Then her friend, TG, decided to host a live doxing me. She took my full name and photo and used it as her background on a live. To this day, she claims that it's not doxing because she got my information from a pro-Palestine website. She's still the one that took it from this small pro-Palestine website that very few people knew about, and then used my personal information to host a live to hundreds of people. To this day, she's not sorry. She stands by what she did, and she defends it and says that it's not doxing. And yet, people from the community still decide to support her, platform her, share her post, including her post lying about me. These two girls started a hate campaign against me that I've never seen the likes of. They've spread vile rumors about me, and they've had entire group chats dedicated to spreading lies about me. Fine, whatever, that's their prerogative, I don't care. I tried to ignore it, hoping that it will die down. It does not die down, the opposite happens. Why? Because I don't agree with every single thing Israel does. I don't agree with every single thing America does. I don't agree with every single thing Trump does, but it's only a problem when it comes to me criticizing Israel, then people want to get mad, and people I considered friends feel comfortable speaking to me a certain way that I can assure you I'm not going to be spoken to. So people would go around and say, well, I reached out to Maddie in good faith, and she ignored me. No, you did not reach out in good faith. If I ignored you, I either, one, really didn't see your message, or two, if you're a friend who I often spoke with, if you spoke to me a certain type of way, you weren't going to get a response, because if you did, you wouldn't have liked it, and I know exactly how people like to screenshot and play victim with messages I send when I keep the same energy. So I ignored it. But unfortunately, the problem didn't stop. In fact, it spread. People started going around from fake profiles, screen recording things, and literally editing audio clips to things I never said. For example, Hamar made an audio clip of me trying to say that I don't support the IDF. Obviously, I've never once said this in my life. He edited it, and in the clip, you could hear the little clips, the timestamps of it stopping and then starting from where he put two different clips together. Now, people were stupid enough to buy into this. It became a big enough problem that it spread over to Instagram, where people I don't even know were making videos trashing me using these fake audio clips or audio clips with context cut out to try to come at me. From there, people started messaging my actual in real life Jewish friends saying, just wanted to let you know, Maddie hates Jewish people. I do not hate Jewish people. Those words have never left my mouth. I have never done anything that would insinuate that in any way, shape, or form. But people are trying to make up all these crazy claims. I even had somebody tell me the fact that I wear a necklace with my name in Arabic on it was anti-Semitic, which is like a crazy thing to say, right? But they were messaging people that I knew in real life, and they were continuing to dox me, multiple people, and posting my information. At this point in time, I have been doxed more by the Zionist community themselves than the pro-Palestine community. That is absolutely insane to me. I've had people go on live and threaten to rape me, tell me that they wish that I would be kidnapped by Hamas, and all these these other crazy things, and once again, people continue to platform them and laugh with them and be friends with them. Obviously, it's not everybody. I still do have friends in the community, but they are few and far between, because the amount of people that I have thought that I was friends with that turned on me and used personal private information I have given them to shit talk me in private chats that they thought I didn't know about, but I absolutely do, that turned on me like this without even asking me what the hell was going on, that are using their negative views on Islam to try to come at me because they think I'm something, or they think my loved ones are something that really aren't their business. And if you are hating on me because you think there's a possibility I'm Muslim, you're not really a person I want to associate with regardless. On top of that, the reason why I decided to make this video is because there was an individual who decided to reach out to my parents and tell them falsely that my boyfriend is abusing me on the basis of he doesn't like me being with a Palestinian. This person is literally an IDF soldier, and they made up a horrific lie. And unfortunately, it's not the first time that it's happened. I've had people try to go around and spread lies that he's human trafficking me, that he's forcing me to make videos against Israel, all this crazy stuff that couldn't be further from the truth. And they felt comfortable saying it, and they go, well, we were just worried about you. No, you're not. You don't sit there and bitch about people in private group chats and make up rumors about their loved ones because you're worried about them. I had one individual who had my personal phone number, and she would constantly check if I was okay because she was pretending to care about the fact that I was going through so much from all the terrible hate that I didn't deserve. And then she was going and taking screenshots of those texts and sending it to people privately. She was going into my comment section and reaching out to people who supported me, trying to turn them on me, all while trying to pretend she was concerned about my well-being. And this is somebody who is with a very large Zionist content creator in the community. Take that as you will. This is absolutely disgusting, abhorrent behavior, and the majority of it is coming from adults. So while there's many people that I do care about in the community, while I care about what the community advocates for, it has become a disgusting, toxic place, and quite honestly, it is dangerous for me to remain a part of. So I'm still going to post about Israel. I'm never, ever going to shut up about the hostages and what they went through, but I cannot recommend that anybody join such a horrific community ever.
Okay. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, but she obviously is unabashed. She's the opinionated girl, so she speaks her opinion. Apparently she's dating a Palestinian, and apparently she is Jewish, even though she says my Jewish friends. I believe she's Jewish. Now, the thing about it is, I'll be honest with you, is that you see how ostracized she is. You see all the lies and the stuff people do. And this is human nature, right? You could see she's somewhat agitated. She didn't want to say this, but she had to put this stuff out there so she could leave it behind her and just keep going. And people circulate rumors and stuff. You know, that's why I like BVS. BVS literally went into that. How Lex Luthor circulated the rumors, lied, got people to lie on Superman. And, you know, people love to center around gossip. And gossip is the thing that you see. You're seeing it in the comic book communities. You see people making unsubstantiated claims all the time, whether it's about movies or whatever, because they feel a certain way and therefore they're going to circulate these rumors. And of course, Zionism is no different, and the Zionist community, you know, ostracizing people, and you know, any other community, whether it's Christian communities, whatever. You know, people sometimes operate on, as I say, emotion versus operating on logic, facts, and truth. And even if you do find dirt on somebody, does that mean you should let everybody know about that? I mean, what kind of malicious mind does that? You know, the people who, I'm just going to go from the Bible here, the people who brought the young lady who was supposedly caught in adultery, all those people, they say she was caught in adultery. Fine. Well, but who's the people who caught her in adultery? The people who were committing adultery with her. So it's like, you know, you ask yourself the question, why do people not found their stuff in truth? And why is it that, you know, people are so malicious? They, you know, it's a difference between, again, trying to help somebody, you know, where you're sincerely, you know, pointing out certain things that maybe that they don't think is wrong and you think is wrong, and you're just letting them know. That's different to somebody not in good faith, really trying to tear somebody down, silence them, beat them down, because they're probably saying things which are true and challenging maybe an order, of the community or the establishment that these people may be in. So I say this in a very general term, saying, what do you notice about human nature? Human nature is such that if the foundation of what somebody's saying is not in truth, what does that person try to do? They either try to hide the truth, and they may do that through trying to censor other people, intimidate other people so they don't say anything, or they may try to bribe other people into buying into their version of the truth, and try to buy out people and convey this image to the other people to try and deceive other people, lie, that kind of thing. So you notice that human nature is such that if you don't want to be transparent with people, you're going to find ways and means to either suppress people who would speak the truth, or to try to hide what it is you're doing, or you will try to buy out people, right? But everything to snuffle out the truth. You're anti-truth, right? Whereas if you are somebody that's based in truth, you know the truth about yourself, whether it's pleasant or not pleasant. It may be a negative thing. Truth doesn't necessarily have to be positive. You know what I mean? Truth can be a very negative thing. Okay. A very negative thing about yourself. Are you going to come to terms with that? Are you going to face up to yourself, and you're going to seek ways in which to deal with that truth and to better yourself? And that's the thing. Being an open book to the world, this is what the Bible says, be an open book. To be an open book to the world means that you are willing to accept truth when it is spoken, even if it's about you, even if it's something negative, even if it's something you don't want to hear. And to come to terms with that, to be honest, to be transparent as possible with yourself and to the other people in the world so they can read you. And that's a very important thing, So I wanted to share that with you guys. This young lady, I think her name is Blakey, maybe. I don't know. I don't know who she is. But what I can tell you is I want you guys to pray for her and her situation, however you want to do that. And that's not Blakey. Blakey's an anti-Zionist. And as to this young lady, I just hope that in her journey, because she's on her journey, that she will be able to hold the truth strong with her, and then once she has the truth with her, rally behind it and just keep going. You know what I mean? And that's all that matters. So I thought I would share these things with you guys. These are little tidbits. You guys can check my Twitter for the tidbits, so I'm not going to dwell on that. I have to get out and go and work, so I'm going to go and work. It's cool. I'm gonna leave you guys with two more things. That was the last thing I was supposed to do, but I don't know if I highlighted this. Listen to this.
Still good. Men are still good. We fight. We kill. We betray one another. But we can rebuild. We can do better. We will. We have to. Rebuild. We can do better. We will. We have to. Faith, not on reason. Your guilt's have become your reason. Not all the king's horses, nor all the king's men could have. For once, I'm operating strictly on faith, not on reason. Your guilt's overcome.
like an invention at 20.
Happened, at least. I just have to for my own sake.
Becoming a reason.
Trying to find.
20.
Oh, here it is.
Your guilt's overcoming a reason. Not all the king's horses, nor all the king's men could. Alfred, for once, I'm operating strictly on faith, not on reason.
He'll be here, Alfred, I know it.
What makes you so sure?
Faith, Alfred. Faith.
Your guilt's overcoming a reason. Not all the king's horses, nor all the king's men could. Alfred, for once, I'm operating strictly on faith, not on reason.
He'll be here, Alfred, I know it.
What makes you so sure?
Faith, Alfred. Faith.
Your guilt's overcoming a reason.
So, faith, again, another attribute, another quality. We see one of the most hopeful Batman ever, whether it's in comics or animation or live action. This is probably the most hopeful Batman ever. And it all started off with Superman when he died. We heard the speech there by Batman at the end of BVS, Bruce Wayne. And the music that was playing in the background of it, as you know, was Man of Steel music. And that was probably the birth of Superman's hope in Batman after Superman passed away. And that hope never went away. And as he said, he wasn't going by logic or reasoning anymore. It was strictly by faith, which was amazing to hear. That's a spiritual thing. I can't even explain to you guys how spiritual that is. And that was just great. And I know other movies have had people going strictly on faith as well. I've seen those movies. But in a comic book film, that has never happened. Not to this extent. And again, just fantastic by Zack Snyder. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. I am out of here. Like I told you, it was Restore the Snyderverse heavy. I noticed I did not focus on anything that had to do with the upcoming DC movie. And the reason I did that is because I think it's more important to focus on virtues and try to aspire to get to those than to try to condemn or pitch down something. I'm sure that movie that's coming out, Superman 2025, I'm sure it'll have some sort of virtue in it. I hope. It's Superman, so there should be some virtue in it, I'm sure. But I just think that these movies that were in the Snyderverse, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, they have so much to give us. There's so much to help us to aspire to something greater than ourselves, collectively and individually, that I just thought I would share that with you guys. You guys have a great day. God bless you all. Peace.